zich door deze misschien misleiden en beschouwen de Joden inderdaad als hun gelijken. Daarin ligt het ontzettend gevaar.
In each occupied country, the film's message was sharpened by inserting local material.
Want ook deze geassimileerde Nederlandse Joden zijn en blijven vreemde elementen in het organisme van hun gastvolk, hoeveel zij er uiterlijk ook op mogen lijken.
The Germans were now putting into effect their plan to destroy all the Jews in Europe. The local population had first to be won over to cooperation, or at least to acquiescence. There were 140,000 Jews in Holland. In May 1942, they were ordered to wear the Yellow Star of David. By that autumn, they were being rounded up and on their way to concentration camps.
Amstel. And one Saturday, a little boy fell in the water, and immediately my brother jumped after the boy and brought it up. And I remember my mother, she was so mad at him. She hit him, she said, "You're crazy. Why did you did that for? Now they know your address." There were people writing things, and there were sex, and there was... So... The last time he said it was now long.
Loads of Jews in goods wagons arrived at transit camps at Vught and Westerbork. Their names and papers were checked by clerks, some of them themselves Jews. Then they were sent east, supposedly to be resettled. In fact, to be gassed and cremated in Sobibor and Auschwitz. The resistance called for strikes and sabotage. Railwaymen and police, under German control, did not respond. The trains ran on time. Of Holland's 140,000 Jews, 105,000 perished. As the war went on, the Germans stepped up appeals for recruits to fight with them in Russia. In all, 25,000 Dutchmen volunteered, in proportion to its size, the biggest contingent from any occupied country. Only half returned. At the same time, German decrees forced able-bodied men to report as conscript labor to work in German war factories. Rather than be separated from their families, tens of thousands now tried to go into hiding. Police spot checks on papers made draft dodging difficult. Another problem was the ration card system, administered by Dutch civil servants. One of their tasks was to keep a vigilant lookout for irregularities. This was because the resistance, now bigger and better organized, forged stamps and stole ration books to feed the growing numbers in hiding.
We had special organizations providing people with hiding places, and they knew.
You could do reading books from the Christian library.
What was the program of the week? The RAF dropped plastics, so we went back to the bureau we had and made another bomb and pressed that a little bit better. Some joy to go on, because we had other days also, when some of the friends would never come back.
Waren in Nederland verschillende illegale bladen.
There were several illegal newspapers in Holland.
As soon as some of your friends are shot, you take things more serious. If you know that this man is penetrating in the underground forces and you can shoot him and save so many lives, it is terribly difficult and terribly responsible. We had the order to kill a couple, a dangerous couple.
Spring 1944. The second front leading to the longed-for liberation. The Germans put up posters warning that Allied invasion would mean death and destruction. Mother, is this the second front Father was always talking about? But the invasion came, and by the autumn of 1944, the Allies were racing north. On September the 13th, the first Dutch city, Maastricht, in the extreme south, was liberated. Resistance fighters arrested Nazis and punished women collaborators. But while the southern tip of Holland rejoiced, the rest of the country impatiently waited for their liberation. Days later, their hopes were dashed. The Allies were beaten severely at Arnhem. The Dutch government in exile called for a railway strike to deny supplies to German armies. Railwaymen who had hesitated before now came out in force, bringing all transport to a standstill. The Germans retaliated by cutting off all supplies of fuel and food to cities in western Holland. Soon people were scavenging along silent and deserted railway tracks for bits of coal. Shops ran out of food. Prices soared on the black market. People kept alive by eating tulip bulbs. Despite the privations, the strikers held firm. Using forged securities, their wages were repaid by the resistance, which was by now also hiding 300,000 men wanted by the Germans for forced labor. There was no electricity or gas. Houses left vacant by Jews were stripped of wood for use as fuel. As the winter got worse, the Germans relented and allowed emergency soup kitchens. Still, it was clear that many would starve unless Holland was liberated.
I did ask my friend Beadle Smith to ask General Eisenhower, could they not start a separate...
Hitler now stripped Holland bare. From Rotterdam alone, in 2 days in November 1944, 50,000 able-bodied men were rounded up and removed to Germany. That winter, 16,000 Dutch men, women and children died of cold and hunger.